Hi everyone, my name is Duncan. I'm a librarian with Peace Library System, and today's session is all about book clubs. It is our book club Brainstorm webinar. So I've divided it into a few different sections. We'll do a little bit of an overview on book clubs. We're going to talk about some things to think about when we are starting a book club, or maybe we are refreshing an existing book club and we just want to revamp it a little bit. We'll speak about the meeting format and how you can schedule different parts of your book club meeting. We'll talk about how to lead a discussion if you've never led a book club discussion before, and also where to find discussion guides and discussion questions. We'll look at finding books, so finding appropriate book club books and using a few different lists to hunt for those books. And then we will also take a look at requesting book club kits from other libraries through TrackPack, as well as we'll go into Polaris and we'll take a look at how to request multiple copies to multiple users on their behalf, or how to request multiple copies of one title to a solo user. To begin, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. Peace Library System acknowledges that we are located on the Treaty 8 territory of the Cree, Beaver, and Dene people and Region 6 of the Métis Nation of Alberta. We are grateful to live, work, and learn together on this land, which has been home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples since time immemorial. We recognize this land as an act of reconciliation, and we also commit to supporting and celebrating our local Indigenous communities while working to break down institutional barriers to make our libraries equitable and accessible. All right, getting started with our book club. So the purpose of any book club is to promote a love of literature in a positive and nurturing environment. Purpose of any club, regardless whether it's a book club or not, is to bring a community together where we can learn and discuss something that matters to everyone. So thinking about, if you're just starting a book club, thinking about what issues or topics matter to your community, that might be a good way to go about choosing the books or the topics that you discuss. Book clubs are also a great way for community members of all ages to connect with each other and share their love of reading. So it provides a nice opportunity to meet other readers, and it allows everyone to broaden their horizons and gain different perspectives. So all in all, what we're doing is we're connecting readers in our community, and we're encouraging different perspectives, different opinions to be shared. Now, in your book club, you might want to create a small housekeeping list or ground rules to read at the top of every meeting, especially if you are running a large group and you have new members at every meeting, or members who aren't at every meeting, aren't as frequently attending. Even creating a mission statement that you can read at the top of every meeting can be really helpful, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And doing this can help to prevent some of the following situations. But we'll talk about each of these and what we can do to assist. So members who haven't read the book, sometimes members come to book clubs and they haven't read the entirety of the book, or they didn't even crack it open. I would let them come anyway, right? Not everyone can finish every book, but non-readers are still going to have valuable insights and valuable perspectives that they can share with those who have read the book. Now, if you are inviting people who have not read the book to the meetings, you do want to warn them that spoilers will be present and they're not going to be omitted just because that person has not read the book. That would not be fair to the people who did read the book. So the non-readers or those who don't read the book do need to be aware of this if they continue to join in the meetings. There will be spoilers. Disagreements about the book. In this situation, it's nice to be gracious, right? There's never one way to experience or interpret a book. Differing opinions can often make really good discussions. It's just important that we're not getting overheated and it's not getting tense in any way. So we want to remind members to be respectful of everyone's opinion. We could even frame a rule or a mission statement like, as members of the book club, we promise to respect the differences in opinion from other members. I could do something like that. Members who would rather socialize, right? So we want to be gentle, but firm at the same time. We want to limit the book discussion time to discussion about the book, right? Some clubs are going to hold social time either prior to the meeting or after the meeting so that there is still an allotted time to socialize or do some icebreakers. Setting a schedule can really help with this too, so that everyone's on the same page. We all know that first half of book club is talking about the book, and then the second half of book club is tea and cookies, or vice versa. Dominating personalities too, right? Setting some rules can help to assist with this situation. And this is never easy, right? We can say, let's hear from some others. That's one approach. Some clubs, what they'll do is pass around an object, kind of like a talking stick. So you only talk when you're holding the object. So those are some initial strategies you could use if you're running into a situation like this. If the person continues to dominate, you might want to have a friendly conversation with them. Always do it in person. I would never do it by email. But if all else fails and they're just kind of overtaking the group, sometimes they've just got to go for the good of the club. Another technique you can try if it does become a bigger issue is this timer technique. So what you would do is you would choose a topic within the book to discuss, and everybody gets 1 minute to express their thoughts before moving on to the next person. And I like this because it makes everyone really think about what they want to say. And that can really help to deter dominating personalities who want to, talk about everything and not just the book, but how it, affects their lives and bring in stuff that maybe is not book specific. So by giving everyone just a minute, they really have to narrow down what they want to get across to the rest of the group. And then, once everyone's had their minute, you can invite a couple minutes afterwards where people can ask questions about their differing opinions, and group conversation can spark from there. Now, when we're starting a book club, these are some things we want to think about when we are starting to put it together. This is my who, what, when, where, and why, and how of book club organization. So the who is leading this. Is this going to be led by library staff? Is it led by maybe a community member, community volunteer? Is the host required to read the book? Or is the host just coming in to be kind of a neutral party and ask questions and facilitate the discussion? If you have a library staff member who is hosting, does that mean reading the book is part of their job if they're required to read the book, right? So these are some things you gotta think about when you're deciding who is going to actually be running this. The what is the content. So what are we discussing at every meeting? Are we doing an entire book? Are we reading the first half or the second half? And then so first half of the first meeting and then the second half of the second meeting. Or maybe it's a slower book club and we're reading only a couple chapters at a time. So we can get like really engaging conversation, really in-depth conversation each week. So that's something you want to determine as well. The when, so when are we meeting? Do we have time to host a weekly club? If not, maybe we're doing it monthly. If we have multiple book clubs, maybe we want to pick one day of the week where we have all the book club programs. So like maybe Tuesdays are book club days, where we have like a YA book club, an adult book club, and a fantasy book club. And we just always hold them on Tuesdays. And it's nice to have consistency, especially for date and time. Being consistent is going to stick in members' heads, and then it'll build from there. The where. So where we are hosting this. Are we doing this in the library? And if we're doing it in the library, do we have a programming room that we can go into? Or do we have a public space in the library, maybe like a little lounge area with some chairs and coffee tables? But if we're doing it in a public space, are we going to be distracting to other patrons, right? Are we allowed a book club group that we can't do it in a public space? as opposed to maybe a quieter book club group where if we're in the corner of a library, we're not really bothering anyone. If it's not in the library, maybe we're doing it somewhere in the community, like a community center or someplace that we have to rent if the book club outgrows the library or we just don't have the room for it. Another thing you want to consider are virtual options. Are we doing like a hybrid format where people can Zoom in with a Zoom link and participate from home? Or maybe we want to host a strictly virtual book club where everything is done through Zoom. And that's really a nice thing to do because it gives accessibility to people who are not able to get to the library or maybe homebound and unable to leave home. So that's another option or another way to frame a book club. The why, so we want to think about why we're doing this. And I love stats. So I think tracking attendance at every meeting, not writing down, the names of people, just tracking how many people are showing up is a really good snapshot to see popularity. You might also consider using feedback forms, maybe biannually, like every 6 months, you hand them out, see where everyone's at, what people like about the club, what people don't like, find out what's working and what isn't, and then adjust. And that's going to let you know if you should be trying new things, right? If attendance is going down or people are dissatisfied with the book club, maybe we need to try new genres or new picks or, a format, meeting format. But feedback is imperative, and I would always recommend tracking attendance and using feedback forms to see what everyone is thinking about the club. And then the how is, how do people find out about your book club? So we want to think a little bit about marketing. Is it just posters in the library? Are we doing social media posts? So things on Facebook or Instagram. One example I really like is the Erica's Book Club from Grand Prairie Public Library, because they partner with the local radio station Today FM. And so the host Erica on Today FM is always talking about the book club, and there's radio ads, and it gives a lot of airtime to this club. So I feel like the community really knows about the book club that's going on at the library as a result of that collaboration. So maybe that's something you want to tie into your own community, if not a radio host, but some other maybe prevalent community member, and you name the book club after them, and they're going to be at all the meetings, and maybe that'll, kind of incentivize people to come to the book club, right? So there's different ways to market your club. All right, let's talk about the meeting format. Now, if you're used to the corporate world, then you most likely know the benefits of hosting a structured meeting or even hosting a meeting with a clearly defined agenda. So hosting your book club should be no different. If you're eager to discuss the book while leaving time to catch up with other members of your book club, it's really important that you allocate time in your schedule for both of those, right? It can be very easy for conversations to go off the rails, especially when you gather groups of people who are passionate about a certain subject. So structuring the format and structuring the conversation is a really good way to ensure that everything gets covered, while allowing each member of the book club to share their opinion and to be heard. Right. So I put 4 things here that you might want to consider. This is kind of broad strokes. So, right, you want some social time, maybe do some icebreakers if everyone is new to each other, so we can get some interaction going. A common icebreaker used is 2 truths and a lie. So that's prompting all members to prepare 2 truths and a lie, and then they read those aloud to the group, and then everyone collectively identifies the lie from each member. And then if there's additional time, we can discuss the interesting facts about everyone and gets everyone a little more familiar with each other. So you want to have some social time, whether that's at the beginning of the meeting or at the end. You want to have your housekeeping or your ground rules or mission statement, right? Just a friendly reminder to be respectful of everyone's opinions, and this is what we do in this book club meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, the biggest chunk of our time is going to be the roundtable discussion. And within the roundtable discussion, you might want to further format it, going like the first half is we're asking individual questions. In the second half, we're breaking off into groups and having discussion, or however you want to organize it. But there should be a little bit more organization within the roundtable discussion portion. And that's to ensure that everyone gets a chance to speak and be heard, right? Share their perspective. And then I also put down set aside time for questions, which could be grouped into the roundtable discussion. But I think it's important to have kind of like an open part at the end where does anyone have any questions for anyone about anyone's opinion or perspective? Just so everyone has the chance to ask questions that come up throughout the discussion that they may have not had at the beginning of the meeting. And then I put a sample format down here. This is about 2 to 2.5 hours, and that's an appropriate time to begin with. You might find that you need way more time or way less time, but 2 to 2.5 hours, if you're just beginning, is probably a good place to start off with. And then I put social time at the start, a little bit of housekeeping, and book discussion. And obviously these can be ordered in any which way you like. All right. So I have some different ideas for leading a discussion because not everyone is comfortable leading a book club, or maybe you've never done it before. So these are just some different things you can use to help elicit discussion and get perspectives from everyone. The first thing I would recommend is asking one question at a time to the group, and to be purposeful in your question. Don't create really long, convoluted questions that are really 4 questions in one. Keep confusion to a minimum, right? Make sure it's a pointed question, and that everyone actually understands what the question is. Another strategy you could use is index cards. So writing a number of different questions on index cards, and you pass them around to everyone. And then we go around in the circle and everyone takes turns answering the question on their card. Now, the downside of this is not every member is answering every question. They're answering their own unique question. But it's kind of fun to see, right? No one knows what question they're going to get, and to kind of see what perspective they take and what adds to the discussion. Another idea is to use a prompt or some kind of prop related to the story. This could even be something that you ask members to bring in, right? For the next book club meeting, bring in a physical item that reminds you of the book. And it doesn't have to be physical either. It could be digital. Maybe we are sharing music that reminds us of a certain chapter, or we're sharing like a movie clip from YouTube that reminds us of the book. So that can be a really fun way to prompt discussion by bringing in different items and sharing different music and movie clips and things like that. Picking a specific passage from the book and asking members to comment on it is a really fun way to lead a discussion as well. So it could be maybe a description, or it's an idea, a line of dialogue, or like a certain paragraph. And maybe we read that out loud to everyone, and then we go around and ask what everyone interprets from that paragraph, and we discuss what the differences are in interpretation, and how did you interpret it that way? Well, I interpreted it this way, and et cetera, et cetera. And then similarly, you could do a character from the book, do the same sort of thing, pick a primary character, maybe give a little overview on them, and then ask how everyone feels about the character and how the character affects the story's events and such. Of course, we have icebreakers, which we put in socializing time, but you could also use these in discussion or use some kind of literary game. A fun one is the Whose Line Is It Anyway game, where everyone takes turn reading out random lines of dialogue. So you just flip to a random page, pick out a line of dialogue, and then everyone takes turns guessing which character said that line of dialogue. So that can be a really fun one. And if you're really ambitious, I would recommend passing out handouts or even emailing them prior to the meeting to members. So this could be like a nice little overview of the book with some talking points, maybe list some of the primary characters. And this is really helpful because it refreshes the memory for members. And you could even put discussion questions that are going to be asked at the meeting. So this gives members a chance to think about what they want to say, think about what their perspective is, and be ready before they get to the meeting. And it's not so off the cuff, right? They've thought about their answer. All right, so creating a discussion guide prior to your book club meeting can be a really good way to spark the conversation and manage the flow. Like we just said previously, it might be something you even pass out prior to the meeting so people come ready with answers. But having a guide or having a list of questions, guide might be a bad word, discussion questions might be better. But having this ready to go prevents you from having to think on your toes and just come up with stuff. So it's always better to be prepared. Now you can create your own, but why do the work? There are lots of resources that are available with pre-created discussion guides. And these are a few that I recommend. So litlovers.com is a site that has thousands of guides. It includes questions and reviews of many book club books. Same with readinggroupguides.com, has similar guides and similar questions. Goodreads does not have a specific discussion guide section, but I would recommend Goodreads if you are discussing maybe a more obscure title or a more niche title, and there isn't a lot of discussion guide resources available. I would go into the book reviews and the user discussions on the book page and see what people are talking about, and then use that conversation to come up with discussion questions. So for any books that you can't find, pre-created guides on, I would go to Goodreads and see what people are saying about the book. Also check the author website. Many of the websites of the authors of book club books will have not only information about the book, but they'll have pre-created discussion guides and book club questions available to download. And then many book club books, many popular book club books rather, will have discussion questions at the end or book club activities in the end of the book. So that's always another place to check as well. And I will say that the point of guides and questions is not to test members of our book club. We should never make it feel like it's school or work, right? If someone doesn't know the answer, we don't want to embarrass them or make them feel like they're in trouble. So sometimes the best thing we can do is frame our questions as interpretation. Like, what is your interpretation of this? Because at the end of the day, everyone's reading comprehension is a little bit different, and we don't want to single anyone out or, make anyone feel uncomfortable and have them stop coming to book club meetings. All right, let's talk a little bit about finding books. So if you're struggling to choose a book for your club, you might want to use one of these pre-made lists. And so some of these are like high profile ones like Oprah's Book Club or Reese's Book Club. What else do I have here? I have the Pulitzer Prize, which is distinguished fiction in book form by an American author. The Nobel Book Prize, which is not awarded to a particular book, it's awarded to an author. So this might be an avenue to go down, look at the most recent author who won the prize, and then maybe pick some of their work to be read in the book club. Goodreads, of course, has many lists. The GG Books Canadian Council for the Arts Award, Scotiabank Giller Prize, which recognizes Canadian fiction. The Booker Prize is international. And then, of course, Canada Reads, which every year it's 5 books competing to be the #1 Canada Reads books of the year. And the 2023 winner was Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands by Kate Beaton, which is actually a graphic novel. But these are just some ideas if you're looking for, the best books of the past year, or just recent hot books. You can try any of these lists and go from there. All right, so I'm going to exit out of the PowerPoint here shortly so we can get into TrackPack and Polaris, but I'll just describe what we're going to be going over. So first we'll start in TrackPack and we'll take a look at how to find book club kits on TrackPack and requesting them from different libraries. So we'll look at keyword searching and then also using subject heading searching. Now, if you are requesting book club kits from other libraries, best practice that I would recommend is to contact that library prior to placing the request. Different libraries have different rules about lending out kits, and it's not going to be the same across all the track libraries. So it's always courteous to phone and just say, would you mind if I borrow this kit? Is there anything I need to know? It's very simple. In the track operational guidelines, it actually states reference materials, periodicals, oversized books, oversized kits, CNIB items, vinyl, and electronic devices are exempt from the resource sharing guideline. So some kits might not even be available to borrow, and that's why you want to double check. So we'll look at that, and then we'll also jump into Polaris and how we can place a single hold request for multiple patrons. So this does it on the patron's behalf, and it places the hold on a bib record. So it's going to fill the hold with whatever is available. And then we'll also look at requesting multiple copies of the same book for a single patron. And this actually allows you to choose the specific item record. So you can choose exactly which libraries you are requesting the titles from, and it'll bring it all to a singular account. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this and we're going to go into TrackPack. All right, so starting from our main page here, we're going to go to our search bar. I'm just going to type in book club kits. So this brings up about 100 results. And what we're looking for is a couple things. We're looking for the icon on the left-hand side here. This is the kit icon. And if you hover your mouse over it, it'll actually say that. We'll see if we can find another icon so we can see the differences. But that's what we're looking for. And then we're also looking in the title or the item record that it says book club kit somewhere. Now, usually if you click into the item record, and this brings up some information, and you go to the description, it'll tell you exactly how many books are included in that kit and kind of what they come in. So this one comes in a bag as opposed to like a kit. So again, this is a kit. It says book club kits. You click into it. The description says there's 15 books. So that's one way to search. We can also put the terms book club in a bag. A lot of kits are tagged like that. So again, we're looking for the kit icon. It says book club in a bag. Description says 8 books. And the last one we can do is book club a box, or a lot tagged like that as well. Right, so kit icon, click on it, 8 books in a box. All right, another way we can search in TrackPack is we can do subject heading browsing, sorry. So we're going to go to search, we're going to go to browse. And then from here, we're going to search for subject, not title, not author, not series, for subject. And I'm going to type in book clubs. And this will bring me to the B section in the subject heading index, which is like, the index is like a giant alphabetical list of all the subject headings. So on the left-hand side, it has the heading here. So we can see we have a number of different book club headings. And then on the right side, it has the number of items in TrackPack that are tagged with that heading. Now, I only have 10 results for this page here. I'm going to open it up to 50 just so we can see this a little better. but the one I'm looking for is book club discussion groups. And this one has 198 items tagged with that. There are also a number of other subcategories of book club discussion groups. A lot of them are tagged as different Alberta things. We have like a drama section, fiction, Louisiana. Not all of these are going to be book club kits. Some of these are books about book clubs, but it's a place to search and poke around and see what kind of kits are available. But we're going to click into book clubs discussion groups. And like I said, this is going to bring up a big list, 198 items that are tagged with book club discussion groups. Now, some of these, and we can see from the top here, and we can see that the icon is not a kit. Some of these are actually books about book clubs or creating book clubs, right? And it's not until we scroll down a little bit, here we go, that we start to see the kit icons and we start to see book club kit and some of the titles. Now, to remove these, all the ones that are not a kit, I'm just going to use my limiters on the left-hand side here. And I'm going to go to my type of material limiter and hit kit. And that's going to limit the list to only showing me kits, and it's going to remove everything that is not a kit, whether it's books or DVDs or e-materials. So then from here, I can see I have my kit icons on the side. This one is Indian Horse Book Club Kit. If I click on it, go to description, it says 6 books in a bag. So if I wanted this, what I would do is I would find out what library it's coming from. If I scroll down, it says Kalmar. So I'd maybe phone the Kalmar Public Library, give them a heads up, interested in requesting this kit, place request, and you're good to go. All right, first we're going to take a look at placing a single hold request for multiple patrons. So this is placing a request on the bib record to a number of patron accounts on their behalf. So maybe this is something you want to do at every book club meeting for the next book. You say, all right, everyone who's here, give me your library card number and I will place a request on the next book for you. And then you can do it all in one chunk. Or maybe you're starting a new book club and you have a sign-up sheet at the front and people write their names to sign up. And then what you're doing is taking those names and you're placing a hold request on those patrons' library accounts by the end of the week. And the books will be arriving prior to your first meeting. All right, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to circulation. I'm going to go to either check in or check out. It doesn't really matter. You can choose one or the other. And then from here, I'm going to hit my place hold icon. Okay, and this will bring up a hold request screen. Now, what I want to do is I want to add multiple patrons to request for. Now, in order for this to work, you need to start with adding a minimum of 2. Okay, so I'm going to hit find, and this will bring up the patron records search function. And I made a couple example accounts. So I have account 1, 2, and 3 down here that I want to eventually add. So what I need to do is I need to select at least 2 of them, a minimum of 2. And I can select multiple by either holding down Shift and working my way down, or I can select one and hold Control and select whichever one I like. But I will add these 2, and then I'm going to hit right-click, select, and this will add those 2 names into the patron space of this hold request window. Okay. Now within the patron space, and this is why you need to add a minimum of 2, because if I only added 1, it would not give me the option to add more or subtract more. So that's why we add 2. If I want to add another account, simply hit the plus button. Oh. Find the other patron you want to add and right-click, hit select. If there's a patron that you added just so you could start with adding 2 to get to this space, but now you want to delete them because they're not actually part of your book club. You would just highlight that name and hit the minus, and it removes. Now we want to find the title of the book that we are using. So I'm going to go down to the plus button here, and this will bring up the bib record search. So we don't have to change anything. It's automatically going to look up the bib record. And I'm going to search up Quillen Games, which is a Pendragon book by DJ McHale. So it's showing the bib record. There are 2 different bib records. We have an audiobook. Actually, I'll expand this so we can see better. We have an audiobook on CD bib record, and then we have the book format. Now, beside that, under linked items, it tells us how many items in TrackPack we have of that record. So we should have around 32 books and 1 audio on CD. But we're going to select the book because that's what we are requesting for our book club. And then it automatically imports into the space down here. So once we have all of our members logged in, or added rather, and we've chosen the bib record of our next title, I'm just going to hit save, and then it's automatically going to place a request for all those patrons on our title. So that is how you do a single request for multiple patrons. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to look at requesting multiple copies of one book to a single account. So to start, I'm going to go to Patron Services. And I'm going to open up the record of the patron who wants to be receiving all these titles. And I'm trying to think of examples on when you might use this. This might be maybe like a homeschool family is doing their own book club and they want it all under one account. Or maybe a patron wants to run their own book club and they're doing it under one account and they're signing them all out under that account. It's important to note, though, that whatever account the books are going to be signed out under, it is that patron's responsibility to have them returned on time and to manage it, right? I like the other method a little bit better because it puts the responsibility in each individual patron. So there's not one person who's overseeing all the books, but this would be used for special circumstances, or maybe if you're planning on running a book club through the library and you want to bring in a bunch of books, you could use like a library account, request a whole bunch of the same title and just have them always arriving so that if someone is interested in joining the club, the book is there, you can check it out to them and override as long as it is still within the hold window. So it gets a little bit tricky, but I'll still show you how we do it. All right, so we're going to search for the patron record. Sorry. I'm going to use my account 1. Oh, there we go. I'm going to click on the hold button. Awesome, and this brings up my hold request screen. Very similar to the last screen we were using. Of course, in this case, we are only requesting under one patron, whereas last time we had multiple. But similarly, we're going to go to title, and we're going to hit find. And this will bring up the same bib record search, but we're going to change a few things because we want to look for the item records. We want to look for the actual copies of the book available as opposed to just the bib record. So I'm going to change the object to item record. We're going to search by title, type exact match. We're going to sort by title. We're going to limit by circulation status and choose the in value so that what we're searching for is actually in at the library. And then we're going to type in the book I am looking for. Type in Quillen Games, and I'll expand this. And so what this does is instead of just showing the book bib record and the number of items available, this shows me everything that is currently in all the track libraries. So I can see under assigned branch which library they're coming from, and I can see their status as in. And if I look under material type, we can tell that these are all books as well. So this is nice because it allows you to choose exactly which libraries they're coming from. So you can do that by making a selection, hit Control. Maybe we want 5 different books. So I want one there, want that one, and that one. And maybe you're choosing specific libraries because they are within your system or they're just closer to you. Whatever the reason is, you do have the ability to choose exactly which copies you are requesting. So after you've highlighted the ones you want, you're going to right click and hit select. And then it automatically puts them all into the title space down here. Same screen as last time. And then when we're ready, we're going to hit save. And it's going to place the request on all these copies to this single account. Now, once you hit save, it's probably going to ask you, this hold request already exists for this patron. Do you want to create a duplicate? And you're going to have to hit yes several times. That's just Polaris saying, hey, you've requested this book like a whole bunch of times. And you have to say, yes, I know. Like, I want multiple copies. So be wary of that. Something to look out for. But that is how we do that. So multiple copies to multiple patrons, and then multiple copies to a single patron. All right, back to the PowerPoint. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about just some virtual book clubs, which could be a way that you want to take your book club online, or if you want to direct patrons towards some other options if you are unable to run a book club, or if the book clubs you are running are not of interest to them. So these are just some a grab bag of ideas that we can use. So Goodreads groups, of course, I love Goodreads, is a nice place to host a virtual book club. You do need to have a Goodreads account, but it's very easy to sign up. It is free. There are public groups you can join, but there is also the ability to create private groups for just your members or, you know, the participants of your book club. The discussion is formatted with discussion boards and discussion threads. So you can have as many threads as you like. Maybe you have one for certain characters. You have one about the setting. What about, I don't know, the magic system if you're reading a fantasy, et cetera, et cetera. It also has this really neat currently reading feature. So this book club, this like fantasy book club I found, looks like they're reading 2 books at the moment, but it'll show you, and it'll show you the cover of what the group is reading. And then you can also put in what the next reads are on the side here. So it's like, ooh, upcoming, we have these 2. So I better hurry up and finish these guys. And it also keeps track of everything that you've previously read as well. So if this is a book club that you go on for a very long time, it can always be neat and exciting to take a look back at what has previously been read. And also so we don't repeat books, right? If we have changing members and changing discussion leaders. Similar to Goodreads is this site I found called bookclubs.com. So it works similar in that you can create a public or a private book club, depending on what the preference is. This has a few more features that I think would work better with book clubs. It just doesn't have the amount of information on individual titles that Goodreads has. But what it does have, it has a messaging tool. It keeps track of all of your previously read books. It has the ability to set date and times for virtual meetings, and you can input like a Zoom link that'll send it out to everyone. And that aligns with the poll feature, in which you can create little polls for people to decide when the next meeting date is, or maybe what the next read is. Maybe you want to do something kind of fun and silly, like pick your favorite character from this list. It's just another way to engage people and make it a little more interactive in a virtual setting. And you can also upload photos and documents, like upload all sorts of stuff onto your book club page, and people can pick it apart and talk about it. What's nice about this site is that they do have a discussion guide dedicated section. So it's just another resource similar to the other discussion guide websites I talked about, where you can find questions that are specific to the book you're reading. Another thing I wanted to note was the one e-read event. So this happens every year from April 1st to 30th, and it's an annual digital bilingual cross-Canada book club. So it's a large book club, and this is supported by the Canadian Urban Libraries Council. So what happens is every April it features a title, and that title is downloadable on ebook resources, so things like Cloud Library and Overdrive, and I believe Read Alberta as well. But starting on April 1st, it is automatically available, and you can download the title with no wait list. It is simultaneous use, meaning hundreds of people can be reading the book at the same time, if not thousands. And then how you take part in discussion and part of the club is they have a national Facebook group where they have different discussions and author events that are broadcast. So if that is something that you think would be of interest to patrons, I would definitely recommend it for next April, because this one recently ended a few weeks ago from this recording. And then again, the last thing is Erica's book club, and just highlight it again because I think it's such a good idea, right? Partnering with community members to hype up your book club and get more people involved. This club, they meet once a month, and they always vote on their next book through the Erica's Book Club Facebook group, from what I understand. So they, again, similar to the one e-read, they use a Facebook group as their virtual landing page. I just think it's really smart marketing. And it has the ability to attract members or patrons who might not use the library to join the book club, and then therefore eventually get a library card and become more active patrons. So yeah, but that is the end of the session today. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, or you want to learn more about any of the topics, you can always give me a call at PLS headquarters, or you can email me at dlotoski@peacelibrarysystem.ab.ca. All right, thanks everyone. We will see you at the next one.